Baseball's just one of those things. There's something just magical about it. I still have those memories, and that's one of the things that just draws me to the game. I mean, it's just such a special game. You know, Euclid Field was like our field, man. That for like the neighborhood kids. You know, we all lived in this small little, you know, between a couple blocks. I remember going there as a kid and it being like just huge. You go by there now and it's just kind of like, wow, it's a shitty little ball field. That dirt, I don't know what kind of, it was the hardest goddamn dirt that, I mean, it was like walking on cement, and it was like they sprinkled like this fine sand with these I don't know, like these really sharp stones, because every time you slid in that son of a bitch in place, I mean, I had so many scraped knees, elbows, hands, you just lose skin big time. That field had a smell to it. And it smelled like the concession stand, and you could smell it as soon as you walked in. And then right next to that was, we called it the Rock. It wasn't any part of Euclid. It was just a grass field. We called it the Rock because there was this big ass fucking rock that was sitting like right at the beginning of this field. And we used to play pickup games of baseball there, and had a really short fence, I remember, and the fence led to the City of Alma. Like, they kept all their old rusty equipment there, but it was great for like building your confidence, because you know, you could hit home runs out of there. And you know, I don't know how many times you know, a couple guys would bring a ball, and we'd always end up losing balls, and you know, that's when the game was over, is you hit too many balls and you couldn't find them when you jumped the fence. That was what we did in the summertime. You know, we were too young to have jobs and didn't really give a damn about women yet. And we were down there all day long, every day. Every day, that's what we did. We just played baseball. My first team I ever played on was Dewey Funeral Home. And there's a big funeral home in Alma, and they sponsored us. And then there was another funeral home in town, Lux Moody Wolfel Funeral Home, and like we'd get together. We played each other, obviously, and it was like the battle of the fucking funeral homes. I played for the Shopper, which was a newspaper in town. I played for Scotland Oil, Pizza Sam, Buselli's Pizza, Greening Brothers, Joint Brothers. Oh, I played for the Morning Sun. That was another. I played for funeral homes and newspapers. Morning Sun was the local rag that played for. And we had a 7-Eleven in town, and you know, the manager or the owner was the coach, and it didn't matter if those fuckers won or lost. They always got to go to 7-Eleven and get Slurpees and candy and shit like that. You know, that wasn't fair. You know, I had to fucking win to get a goddamn Slurpee. I've never liked sweets, really. I've never been a soda guy or anything like that. And when I would go to whatever team I was playing on, and we'd go and we'd win, and the coach would be like, let's go to 7-Eleven, everybody gets Slurpees. You know what I used to get? Fucking water. They didn't have bottled water back in those days. It didn't even exist. I mean, I would ask for a cup, like a big gulp cup, and get water. What the fuck? I should have got Slurpees. I got a gig as a umpire. They hired, I think, yeah, I was older. I was probably 14, 15. In between T-ball and pitching, they had the pitching machine league, and it was like this big monstrosity. It had like 2 big rubber wheels, and you had 2 umpires, home plate guy, and then you had the guy, and he would feed the baseball into the machine. And I remember he always did this so the batter could see the ball, and they'd drop it into this little slot, roll out, and it would spit this ball out. So I was umpiring, and I was behind home plate, and John Latosky was the other ump, and he was working the machine. The coach of one of the teams, just a loudmouth prick. I mean, he's yelling and screaming at his kids. He's yelling and screaming at Latosky and I. It's like he's Earl fucking Weaver of the Little Leagues, you know, and just carrying on like an ass. Somewhere like 3rd inning, Latosky, he calls me out, and I go out there, and he's like, hey, just be aware, I'm going to be turning this machine up when this coach's kid gets up to bat. Latosky was older than I was, and, you know, he was kind of a rough dude, so I'm like, all right. And all of a sudden, this loudmouth coach's kid gets up to bat, and he thinks he's hot shit too. I see Latosky, like, he's pounding on the machine, and he's like aiming it towards this kid, and I'm like, holy shit. You could just see the wheels on that machine just starting to really hum fast. And you know, I've got one of those little umpire things, so like in my mask and everything, I'm like, all right, holy shit, I'm gonna watch out. He does this with the ball, slides it down, and it was like Nolan Ryan, man. That fucking ball just poof, blows out of the machine, and it just nails this kid right in the chest. Just boom, baseball hits him. He falls to the ground. He's fucking crying. Of course, the dad comes out, and he's yelling and screaming and pissing and moaning about, you know, what the hell's going on here, and blah blah blah. And Latosky had words with him. I don't know what he said, but the coach never came out of the dugout again. I don't know how fast it was, but it was fast. But yeah, I just nailed that son of a bitch. Nowadays, we'd probably go to jail for doing something like that. "12, 13 years old when I get drafted onto this team. There's this local gentleman, very prominent in town, and he wants to be a coach. With the help of his boy, they put together like this super team. It was the dream team of Little League. We had some superstars. We had pitching, we had hitting, we had everything. Anybody who was anybody in the Little League world was on that team. I mean, we were stacked. I mean, we had uniforms, man. We looked like the Yankees. He bought us these pinstripe uniforms. We had the pinstripe stirrups. I mean, we looked sharp. Anybody who could play ball was on that team. But because it was a draft, you know, and everybody got to play, you're going to have a couple guys on the team that aren't the best. We had two guys on that team that they couldn't hit a fucking ball to save their life. The rest of us were just powerhouses. We started the season and we just house of fire. I mean, nobody could beat us. Half the games we played, we mercied the other team. We were just amazing. We were all having so much fun, and you know, winning's fun. Winning is fun. We were on this collision course for the World Series of Little League, you know. We get down to the last game of the year, and this is for the championship. Score's 3-2. We were down in the last inning, 3-2. Couldn't write this shit. It was like a, you know, one of those baseball movies. Get a couple guys on base, get a couple outs. So we're down to our last bat, you know. And Tony gets up to bat, and Tony was one of those guys. It couldn't field a ball, he couldn't hit a ball, he couldn't swing a bat. He had the worst batting stance. He just stood there like a statue with the bat like this. We all thought there's a chance, you know, maybe this is when Tony gets a hit. And we were all just shaking the fence and pounding on the fence and, you know, come on, Tony, you can do this. You can get a hit. Come on, Tony, you can do it, man. You can do it. Get a hit, Tony. And he strolls up, and I looked over at our coach, and he's putting away all the bats and the balls and the equipment, and he's shoving them into a bag. Swings, misses, strike one. And coach has now walked out of the dugout, and he's got the fucking bag slung over. You could tell he's just fucking mad. He's pissed. He's walking out of the fucking ballpark. His player is at bat still, and he's walking out of the park. Like, the game's still going on, man. Pitch comes in, swings, misses. Strike two. And, you know, we're down to our last pitch. And Tony's standing there, and the pitch comes, and he swings, and you just hear that ball hit the mitt. Strike three, game's over. And by this time, the coach is in his Jaguar. He just bought a brand new silver Jag, I remember that. And he's fucking screeching out of the parking lot. He didn't have the balls to fucking stand there and watch this kid strike out. He knew he was going to strike out, and I think we all did too. Tony probably knew he was going to strike out. But I thought, you motherfucker, like, you fucking bastard. I remember being heartbroken, not because we fucking lost the game, but like, were his parents there watching him, and, you know, did they see the coach walk out on this kid? I was so fucking angry at that coach. I went home, and I took my glove, my ball bat, and I threw it in the closet. And I didn't want to play baseball anymore. That coach stole that from me. Like, the love of that game, and the love to play that game. And I've never forgiven him for that. There are bullies at every age, you know. And thankfully, you know, I had like good parents who were encouraging and loving. But it was my first encounter with an adult who could be that mean and mean-spirited and cruel. Just absolutely cruel. And it broke my heart then, and it still breaks my heart. And I still think about this kid. You know, I wonder if it affected him the way it did me. Isn't that a fucking sweet sound though, too?